respectfully. Brittney Griner was in a Russian prison. You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America on home soil, would not have too much to complain about.
Welcome back to the Buzzer Update. I hope today is going great for everyone. I have another thrilling and fascinating video for you today. You will undoubtedly want to see this one through to the very end if you are a true admirer of Caitlin Clark. Before we begin, please indicate that you are a member of the Buzzer Update Army by leaving a CC 100% remark below. I adore seeing all of the incredible Clark supporters in the comments. Let's proceed right into today's video without wasting any more time. Brittney Griner finally got justice in the most awful way possible after her racist attack on Caitlin Clark went public and the WNBA tried to ignore it. Karma simply delivered the perfect punishment. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you enjoy the content. It may surprise you to learn that almost 90% of viewers have not yet subscribed. Even though it only takes a second and is free, it means the world to us. Have you already subscribed? Fantastic. I sincerely appreciate your help. Let's return to the video now.
Fever and Atlanta Dream played. Indiana Fever is where Caitlin Clark plays. Atlanta Dream is where Brittney Griner plays. Now you tell me what it looks like Brittney Griner is saying here. For a little bit of context, this was in the fourth quarter after Brittney Griner fouled out against Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever would go on to win by 5. Now I'm going to tell you what I think she said. Let's play it back. Looks to me like she is saying trash and then calling Caitlin Clark a bleep white girl. Just a reminder, this is who Joe Biden traded for the Russian merchant of death. So many WNBA players hate Caitlin Clark so much when she is the best thing that could have happened to the league. And she's not the best thing that happened to the league because she's white.
The league, which had been shielding her for weeks, just took a step that fundamentally changed the circumstances. Griner's career might be coming to an end. Seeing Griner face repercussions for her racist comments is more entertaining than watching the WNBA suddenly grow up and start enforcing its regulations. Honestly, she is deserving of the consequences that are about to unfold. Now that the long-awaited moment has finally come, Brittney Griner is about to learn that her acts have the most painful repercussions. The WNBA administration just made a startling announcement that has stunned the basketball community after weeks of the league pretending not to know about her racist attack on Caitlin Clark. The group that went to such measures to absolve Griner of accountability is now forced to take action, and the results are catastrophic.
If you want to get people never to watch the WNBA, this is an amazing way to do it. If the league is going to be rooted in this sort of nastiness with regard to its only real star, good luck to them. Well, folks, the left has a real problem in the United States. They've spent the last several decades talking about how racism is an endemic problem in American life. And there's a problem with that problem, which is there's not...
After fouling out of an Indiana Fever game against Clark, let's start by talking about the true causes of this instantaneous karma. Griner verbally attacking a white girl was caught on film.
Griner was caught on tape during a game with the Indiana Fever, dropping racial slurs against Caitlin Clark, and pretty obviously doing so. And it doesn't take a lot of genius to lip read Brittney Griner, whose voice, by the way, is about as low as mine is, calling her trash and an effing white girl. Now, of course, if Caitlin Clark had ever suggested the same in reverse, using black as opposed to white in that sentence, that'd be the end of her WNBA career. But Brittney Griner is going strong.
The video could not be disputed. Anyone with working eyes could discern the prejudiced purpose, and other experts confirmed the lip reading. However, the WNBA went into full damage control mode to save its key experienced player. The league opened investigations into alleged racism by Indiana Fever supporters, but instead of acting swiftly, it abruptly chose to ignore the situation. When one of their own celebrities was revealed to be truly racist on national television, they ignored the facts, minimized the worries, and assumed the issue would just go away. But karma has a way of making sure the truth is revealed. Furthermore, Griner's defense system just fell apart horribly.
I mean, I know there's always consequence to actions. You know, what I did, I already know that I was going to get, you know, some time for that. And, you know, I respect, you know, I got 3 games. Okay. Not disputing that at all. Do I think that it should have been 3 across the board? Boom, everybody involved in it, 3-3-3. I think that would have been honestly fair. I would have been happy today with that. Not today. And it's not because of my suspension.
There was more than one incident that led to Griner's recent contract ban. It relates to a behavior pattern that the league can no longer ignore or defend. This is the same athlete who complained about crowd noise because, for once, people were paying attention to the game. This is the same person who was released from a foreign prison before using racist language to denigrate other American players. Her entitlement and lack of thanks have finally caught up with her.
Brittney Griner is playing a game, and this is what Brittney Griner calls. I was not going to comment on any of this stuff until this took place. Watch what she says. The entire internet has reacted to this. Here's Brittney Griner. They're playing against the Indiana Fever, and look what she's saying. Go ahead, Rob.
For the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
Well, that pretty much sounds like trash effing white girl.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest.
So the whole market reacts to this with Brittney Griner, right? And then the other quote, Rob, then I'm going to wrap this up and then I'm going to go to Adam. Put the quote of Brittney Griner, what she said about the NBA. This is so funny how all this stuff works out, right? She says, this is from Brittney. Every time we play her, there's this commotion, like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there, watching on purpose. It's very disruptive. It's called a freaking game that they pay you money to play. Don't play the game.
The suspension will have serious financial repercussions for Griner. After this problem, she's losing more than just game checks. She is losing opportunities for endorsements, sponsorship deals, and reputational restoration. As a result of the prisoner exchange that sent her back home, the United States lost a convicted arms dealer, and her only response has been hatred and hostility towards the country that saved her. Every dollar she loses reminds her of the amount of money she lost during a racist outburst. But here's what makes this karma so perfect. The WNBA made this choice because they can no longer afford to protect problematic players. Racist behavior from seasoned players who should know better will not be tolerated by casual viewers who learn about women's basketball through Caitlin Clark. Clark has contributed unprecedented amounts of money and attention to the league. Ultimately, the commercial justification for responsibility overcame the political case for protection. The announcement of Griner's ban shocked social media right away because most people believed he was unbeatable. She had to put up with racial comments, allegations of fan fanaticism, and an all-around arrogant attitude throughout her career. Consequences finally came up with her, demonstrating that even protected athletes have limits to what they can get away with. Victimhood served as a shield for her for a long time, but it has now broken.
Johnson. BG, right now you have 10 points, 5 rebounds. We see the Atlanta Dream as being very... Right now she's talking to the refs about holding. We're going to send it back to you guys. Very important question.
The WNBA's attempt to capitalize on Clark's ascent coincides with this punishment, which is particularly distressing. When athletes make racist comments on national television, sponsors and television networks do not want to be associated with them. Finally, the league administration realized that protecting Griner would cost more than punishing her. Money talks, and Griner's discriminatory behavior was becoming too expensive to overlook. It appears that the contract language allowing this punishment was always present in the standard player agreements, which no one took the time to thoroughly examine. The WNBA had the power to take action all along. They just made the decision to hold off on using it until the financial burden became intolerable. Therefore, their first inaction is all the more intolerable. And this last reprimand was even more enjoyable. Justice that is delayed is still justice, but the delay makes it much more delicious. Griner's supporters and teammates are racing to defend her, but when questioned, their statements fall apart. They argue that the penalty was unfair, the evidence was inconclusive, and seasoned players should be given more attention. None of their defenses, however, changed the fact that she was caught on camera making racist comments about the league's biggest star. What everyone saw with their own eyes cannot be changed by any amount of spin. Since Clark supporters have been demanding responsibility for weeks, the video evidence is obvious. The reaction has been overwhelmingly favorable. As they watched the WNBA defend Griner, they investigated claims of racism made by Fever supporters. This suspension feels like justice has finally been done after a period of obvious discrimination and unfair treatment. The basketball community was starting to question the league's commitment to its stated values. As a result, a discernible sense of relief is there. This penalty sets an impediment for the future of the WNBA. It suggests that regardless of a player's position or past achievements in the league, they are all susceptible to consequences. That is exactly the kind of accountability that professional sports organizations need in order to maintain their credibility with sponsors and fans. Finally, the culture of favoring certificates. ES over others is seriously challenged because it forces reporters to confront their own bias while covering this topic. Griner's suspension has been particularly harshly portrayed by the media. Initially, a number of media outlets downplayed or ignored the racist comments. They now have to explain why they didn't demand accountability sooner and with greater vigor. The credibility gap between media reports and fan expectations has never been more obvious. Griner's WNBA contract is not the only aspect of her financial predicament. Speaking engagements are being withdrawn, endorsement deals are being quietly canceled, and fundraising opportunities are vanishing. She will have to deal with the fallout from her racist comments for years to come, which is exactly what happens when public figures cross these lines. Corporate America does not favor racist behavior, particularly when it is caught on camera. The prohibition also shows how little the WNBA's "No Space for Hate" campaign was more than empty marketing. The beginning of this initiative was a significant deal. However, they promptly ignored the most obvious violation of their own professed ideals. The need for outside pressure to get them to act indicates vigor. Their commitment to these ideas was never strong. The hypocrisy is shocking, even by professional sports standards. The prisoner swap setting, which highlights the entitlement and ingratitude that led to this situation, greatly enhances Griner's demise. The canceled states actually traded a convicted arms dealer for her parole. She responded by making racist comments about other Americans. It's amazing how much ingratitude she has, and that makes her current suffering seem like poetic justice. Other WNBA players are greatly impacted by the notion that protection from league leadership isn't guaranteed. Players who have been getting away with misbehavior are suddenly concerned about whether they will follow suit. By encouraging an atmosphere of accountability, this penalty might benefit the league as a whole. Fear of the consequences is a powerful motivator to alter one's behavior. The timing of the suspension also coincides with significant broadcast negotiations and sponsorship renewals. During these discussions, the WNBA could not allow racist behavior. Since it was getting more expensive to provoke behavior than to punish her, the league was finally compelled to take action. The business case for accountability became inevitable when millions of dollars were at stake. In reaction to this punishment, the league's move has garnered a great deal of support on social media. This rare case of actual accountability is being applauded by supporters who had lost faith in the WNBA's adherence to its proclaimed values. The positive response shows that responding was the right ethical and commercial course of action. The public's opposition to Griner was apparent as soon as the video was released. Griner may contest the league's power to administer these fines, which may have significant legal repercussions. However, any legal challenge would most likely fail miserably because the evidence is so plain and the contract language is so unequivocal. She would only be drawing attention to her prejudiced behavior. That's why she's looking worse. Teams now understand that the league will actually enforce conduct standards, which has significant ramifications for management and coaching. After putting up with problematic behavior from key players, front offices are reassigning behavior tactics. The recent dramatic change in the cost/benefit equation of protecting problematic athletes has caught the attention of general managers. The story has further international significance because Griner's actions reflect behavior on American basketball. In general, foreign competitors and partners are watching how the WNBA handles these situations, especially given the embarrassment of the prior behavior. Change, because it demonstrates how much trust the WNBA had lost as a result of their first delay. a forceful response sends the right message about American ideas and norms. The response from fans has been fascinating. There is a cautious hope among those who no longer watch or support the league that the leadership will actually follow its stated values. This prohibition may cause a shift in fan confidence. The league must, however, show that this is more than a singular occurrence. The psychological implications on Griner were undoubtedly disastrous because she clearly believed that she was untouchable. The same league that protected her from domestic conflicts, global issues, and now racial slurs has abandoned her. Since other players are watching to see how serious the league is about enforcement, the finding must be devastating for someone who has become accustomed to special attention and preferred handling. This sets a crucial precedent for similar situations in the future. The WNBA might be able to prevent similar incidents in the future by implementing these rules consistently. However, the problems will remain and the league's reputation will continue to deteriorate if this proves to be an isolated instance. Because they don't want to be associated with racist behavior, sponsors have reacted swiftly and forcefully. The financial burden sponsors placed on the league was probably one of the primary causes of this restriction. In corporate America, this kind of publicity nightmare is unacceptable, especially in the current social media environment where disagreements can spread swiftly. The impact on Clark personally is definitely a relief because she has been dealing with this hostility while trying to maintain her professional reputation. The league's decision to take action at last demonstrates to her the value of her services and the fact that she has not had to endure racist remarks from seasoned players. She is finally receiving the protection she should have had from the start. These broader societal repercussions extend beyond basketball, since this suspension sends a message about professional sports accountability. The WNBA's response to these situations is being watched by other leagues. Strict enforcement could encourage similar conduct in all sports. Since the coaching staff is divided between supporting their players and maintaining their own professional reputations, their responses have been fascinating. Weak answers, on the other hand, would imply that if you are valuable enough, racist behavior is acceptable. Coaches who were expected to defend Griner are now distancing themselves from her comments. The suspension allows them to take on more appropriate roles without appearing disloyal to their rosters. Due to the fact that Griner representatives are assisting a client whose marketability has been significantly damaged, there are significant consequences for both management and agents. Future contract talks will be much more difficult once behavior is now that racist actions are part of the agreement. The suspension significantly changes her value proposition, making her a liability rather than an asset. Retirement speculations have already started because behaviors and career prospects at her age have been severely damaged by this sentence. With this issue behind her, it will also be extremely difficult for her to get fresh opportunities. She may be nearing the end of her professional basketball career, which would be a fitting conclusion to years of problematic behavior. The legacy impact is probably what hurts the most because Griner's achievements are now overshadowed by her discriminating acts. When discussing her future career, this incident will come up frequently. She sacrificed a positive legacy for a fleeting fit of racist fury, and it was obviously not worth it. There will always be harm to her legacy in basketball history. When comparing Griner to other suspended players, it becomes clear how much the WNBA has protected him from lesser-known players who received immediate punishment for significantly less serious violations. This restriction finally acknowledges that discriminatory behavior cannot be justified by star treatment, even if the double standard has been visible for years. The equal treatment principle is finally being enforced by league regulations. As part of the investigation that led to this suspension, players and officials' testimonies, as well as other material, were apparently examined. The league could no longer dismiss the mounting evidence that Griner's actions were intentional and driven by race. Because of the thorough investigation, the suspension is not subject to challenges or appeals. The PR catastrophe that Griner's actions brought about for the WNBA cannot be overstated. The league's years-long attempt to build relationships with sponsors, media partners, and fans is undermined by one player's bigoted outburst. The ban protects the league's behavior, also punishing individual misconduct. The educational workshops that the WNBA will require as part of Griner's potential return are purportedly proof that they are taking this incident very seriously. Future reinstatement requirements, such as public apologies, community work, and sensitivity training are being investigated. The embarrassment of having to undergo remedial education regarding racism will be extremely unpleasant for someone with a furious ego. The best part of the whole experience is seeing someone who thought they were above consequences receive perfect justice from quick karma. For years, Griner behaved entitled and ungrateful, which led to racist comments made against the player who is making the league better. The suspension shows that everyone must ultimately answer for their actions, regardless of how secure they think they are. Finally, Brittney Griner realized that her actions had the worst possible consequences. The WNBA suspension shows that even protected players cannot evade justice permanently. For her prejudiced assault on Caitlin Clark, the perfect retribution was supplied by karma. For more moments of responsibility, please subscribe and hit the like button if you think justice was served.